The crumbling facade of the Whitmore Theater had captivated Flynn Ellison since childhood. Its once magnificent Victorian architecture, now a shadow of its former glory. Standing across the street from the dilapidated building, Flynn felt a familiar surge of determination as he finalized the purchase on his phone. At 34, he had amassed a fortune through his hotel renovation business. But this project wasn't about money, it was personal. "Congratulations, Mr. Ellison. The Whitmore is officially yours," his real estate agent said through the phone. Flynn smiled, his blue eyes fixed on the faded gold lettering above the entrance. "Thank you, Deanne. I'll transfer the remaining funds today." After ending the call, he took a deep breath and crossed the street, ready to see his newest acquisition up close. The theater had been Riverbrook's crown jewel for nearly a century before falling into disrepair 2 decades ago. Flynn remembered his grandfather taking him there as a child, telling stories about the magnificent performances and the architectural marvel the building once was. When he'd heard it was being sold for demolition, he knew he had to intervene. The massive wooden doors creaked as Flynn pushed them open, stepping into the dim foyer. Dust particles danced in the slivers of sunlight breaking through boarded windows. Despite the decay, the grand staircase still maintained a ghostly elegance, and the intricate ceiling moldings told stories of craftsmanship long forgotten. Flynn walked through the cavernous main theater, his footsteps echoing. The stage where legends once performed now sagged with water damage, but he could envision what it could become again. This wasn't just another business venture, it was a mission to restore a piece of Riverbrook's soul. His phone buzzed. It was Marcus, his project manager. "Boss, I've lined up 3 architectural firms for interviews next week, all specialists in historical restoration." "Good. I want someone who understands what this place means to the community," Flynn replied, running his hand along a damaged wall sconce. "Someone who sees what I see." "You got it. First meeting is Monday at 10 a.m. with Zephyr Design Group." Little did Flynn know that Monday morning would change more than just the fate of the Whitmore Theater. Zara Nichols rummaged through her portfolio case, extracting building plans and concept sketches as she waited in the small conference room of Ellison Restoration Properties. At 32, she had established herself as one of the city's most innovative architects specializing in historical preservation, though her firm was still considered boutique compared to the giants her colleagues from larger firms represented. "Coffee?" a friendly assistant asked, poking her head in. "Yes, please. Black," Zara replied, straightening her navy blazer and checking her watch. She was 15 minutes early as always. The door opened and Zara instinctively stood, extending her hand, but instead of Flynn Ellison, a tall man with salt and pepper hair entered. "Marcus Davidson, project manager," he introduced himself. "Mr. Ellison is running a few minutes behind, construction emergency at another site." "Zara Nichols, Zephyr Design Group," she responded with a firm handshake. Marcus smiled. "I've seen your work on the Hartwick Library, impressive balance of modern functionality while preserving historical elements. Thank you. I believe our history deserves to breathe alongside our future, not be suffocated by it," Zara said, relaxing slightly. The door swung open again, and a man in a tailored charcoal suit strode in, his presence immediately filling the room. Flynn Ellison was taller than Zara had expected, with dark brown hair and striking blue eyes that seemed to assess everything they landed on with precision. "Mr. Ellison, this is Zara Nichols from Zephyr Design," Marcus introduced. Flynn's handshake was firm but not domineering. "Miss Nichols, I apologize for keeping you waiting." "Not at all," Zara replied, noticing the flecks of dried concrete dust on his otherwise immaculate suit. "Construction emergencies wait for no one." A hint of surprise crossed his face, followed by an appreciative nod. "You understand the business." "My father was a contractor. I grew up on construction sites," Zara explained, gesturing to her portfolio. "Shall we begin?" For the next 45 minutes, Zara presented her vision for the Whitmore Theater restoration. She didn't just show drawings and 3D renders. She told the story of what the building could become, a cultural center that honored its past while serving the community's future. Flynn asked pointed questions about structural challenges, materials, and timeline, all of which Zara answered with confidence. But it was when she pulled out her personal sketches that his demeanor shifted subtly. "These aren't digital," he observed, looking at the hand-drawn conceptualizations. "I believe in feeling a building before designing it," Zara explained. "Computers are tools, but the initial vision comes from here." She tapped her heart lightly. Flynn studied her for a moment, something unreadable in his expression. "Have you visited the Whitmore?" "Several times, actually." "Even before it was listed for sale," Zara admitted. "It's been a dream project of mine for years. When I heard you'd purchased it, I researched your previous restorations. Your work respects the soul of buildings." Flynn leaned back, a slight smile playing at his lips. "Most architects try to impress me with technical jargon and cost-saving measures." "Don't worry, Mr. Ellison, I have spreadsheets for that too," Zara quipped, producing a detailed budget proposal. "But I wanted you to understand my philosophy first." By the end of the meeting, an energy had developed between them, a mutual recognition of shared passion for preservation. When Flynn walked Zara to the elevator himself, Marcus raised an eyebrow in surprise. "We'll be in touch by the end of the week," Flynn said as the elevator doors opened. Zara nodded, maintaining her professional composure despite the excitement bubbling inside her. "Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Ellison." The doors closed between them, and Flynn returned to the conference room where Marcus was reviewing notes. "Well?" Marcus asked. Flynn picked up one of Zara's hand-drawn sketches still left on the table. "Cancel the other interviews." Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "Really? Without seeing what the others have to offer?" "She understands what the Whitmore needs to be," Flynn said simply, still looking at the sketch. "And that's exactly what I need." 3 days later, Zara received the call confirming she'd been selected for the Whitmore restoration. Within a week, she found herself standing center stage in the vast, empty theater, clipboard in hand as she made preliminary assessments. "The acoustics are still remarkable," Flynn commented, his voice carrying easily from where he stood in the back row. Zara nodded, looking up at the ornate ceiling. "The original designers knew what they were doing. We'll need to restore the plasterwork without compromising those acoustics." Flynn made his way down the center aisle, his footsteps echoing. "What's your honest assessment of the timeline?" 18 months minimum if we want to do this right," Zara replied without hesitation. "Rushing historical restoration only leads to cutting corners. Most developers would tell me what I want to hear, a quick 12-month turnaround. I'm not most developers, and I suspect you already knew that when you hired me," Zara countered, meeting his gaze directly. A smile tugged at Flynn's lips. 18 months it is." Over the following weeks, the Whitmore became the center of both their lives. Daily site meetings turned into working dinners at a nearby cafe, where they'd spread plans across tables and debate the merits of various approaches to the restoration. What began as strictly professional gradually shifted as they discovered shared values beyond architecture. "My grandfather brought me here when I was 8, Flynn revealed one evening as they surveyed the partially demolished concession area. "He worked as an usher here in his youth. Said it was the most beautiful building in the world." Zara paused her note-taking, touched by this glimpse into his personal motivation. "Is that why this project matters so much to you?" Flynn nodded, running his hand along a damaged wall tile. "He passed away last year. Watching this place rot was heartbreaking for him." "Then we'll make him proud," Zara said simply, placing her hand briefly on his arm. The touch was professional, but the understanding behind it wasn't. As October arrived, bringing chillier weather, the project faced its first major setback. During the removal of the damaged stage flooring, workers discovered extensive foundation issues that hadn't appeared in any preliminary assessments. This will add at least 3 months and $500,000 to the budget, Zara explained grimly as they examined the exposed foundation pit. She braced herself for Flynn's reaction, knowing how investors typically responded to such news. To her surprise, Flynn studied the problem thoughtfully before asking, "Can we solve it properly within that time frame and budget?" "Yes," Zara confirmed. "I've already spoken with the structural engineer. It's fixable, just costly and time-consuming." "Then we fix it," Flynn stated simply. "This building has stood for over a century. I want it standing for another 100 years." Zara felt a rush of respect and something else she wasn't ready to acknowledge. Most clients would be demanding cost-cutting alternatives. "I'm not most clients," Flynn echoed her earlier words with a small smile, "and this isn't just another project." That evening, after the construction crew had left, Zara remained behind, recalculating measurements for the foundation repairs. The theater was eerily quiet, with only temporary construction lights illuminating her workspace on the stage. "You're still here," Flynn's voice startled her from the darkness of the wings. "Just finalizing the adjustments for tomorrow," she explained, gathering her papers. Flynn approached, his tie loosened and sleeves rolled up after a long day. "Have you eaten?" Zara realized she hadn't, having worked straight through dinner time. "I was planning to grab something on the way home." "I have a better idea," Flynn said. "Follow me." Curious, Zara followed him through the backstage area to a narrow staircase she hadn't explored yet. They emerged onto the theater's flat roof, where to her amazement, a small table had been set with takeout containers and a bottle of wine. "I come up here sometimes to think," Flynn explained, seeming almost self-conscious. "The view of downtown is incredible." Indeed, the city's skyline sparkled before them, a canvas of lights against the night sky. Zara felt something shift between them as Flynn pulled out a chair for her. "This is unexpected," she managed, suddenly aware of how intimate the setting felt. "Consider it a thank you for how you handled today's crisis," Flynn said, opening the wine. "Most architects would have panicked or tried to cover up the extent of the problem." "Integrity in restoration isn't optional," Zara replied, accepting the glass he offered. "These buildings tell our community's stories. They deserve honesty." Their eyes met over their glasses, and for a moment neither spoke. The professional boundary that had defined their relationship thus far seemed suddenly fragile. "To honest restoration," Flynn toasted, breaking the tension. "And to clients who understand its value," Zara added, clinking her glass against his. They talked for hours that night, moving beyond the Whitmore to share stories of their backgrounds. Flynn's journey from a middle-class family to self-made millionaire through his passion for revitalizing historic properties. Zara's struggle to establish herself in a male-dominated field while staying true to her preservation ethics. When Zara finally checked her watch, she was shocked to find it was nearly midnight. "I should go. Early site meeting tomorrow." Flynn walked her to her car in the empty parking lot, their conversation still flowing easily. As she unlocked her door, he hesitated. "Zara, I want to be clear about something. I value our professional relationship tremendously." "As do I," she replied cautiously, sensing more to his statement. "But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in exploring whether we might have more than that," he continued, his usual confidence tempered with genuine uncertainty. "However, I would never want to complicate your work or put you in an uncomfortable position." Zara felt her heart race. She'd been fighting her growing attraction to Flynn for weeks, convincing herself it was merely professional admiration. "The Whitmore is the most important project of my career," she said carefully. Flynn nodded, already stepping back. "I understand completely. The project comes first." "But," Zara continued, surprising herself, "perhaps once we've reached a significant milestone in the restoration, we could revisit this conversation." The smile that spread across Flynn's face made her stomach flip. "I'd like that very much." As winter descended on Riverbrook, the Whitmore restoration progressed, despite the foundation setback. The relationship between architect and client remained strictly professional, though the tension of unspoken possibilities hung between them during meetings. Then came the Christmas party for the restoration team. Flynn had rented a historic mansion for the occasion, transforming it into a winter wonderland for the workers, contractors, and consultants who had dedicated themselves to the Whitmore project. Zara arrived in an emerald green dress, a departure from her usual site-appropriate attire. She spotted Flynn immediately, commanding yet approachable as he chatted with a group of stonemasons. When his eyes found her across the room, the conversation he was engaged in seemed to fade from his attention. He excused himself and made his way to her, navigating through the crowded room with purpose. "You look beautiful," he said simply when he reached her. "Thank you," Zara replied, feeling uncharacteristically shy. "This is incredible, Flynn. The team deserves this celebration." "Come with me," Flynn said, offering his arm. "There's something I want to show you." He led her away from the main party to a quieter section of the mansion where a scale model of the completed Whitmore Theater stood on a table, illuminated under soft lighting. But it wasn't just any model, it was an exact realization of Zara's original vision, down to the smallest detail. "You had this made?" she asked, touching the tiny replica of the restored facade with wonder. "I wanted everyone to see what we're working toward," Flynn explained. "Your vision deserved to be showcased." Zara was deeply moved by the gesture. "It's perfect." "I have something else," Flynn said, retrieving a small box from his pocket. "A gift, not from your client but from me." Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant shaped like the Whitmore's distinctive arched window. "Flynn, it's beautiful, may I?" he asked, and when she nodded, he stepped behind her to fasten it around her neck. His fingers brushed against her skin, sending a shiver down her spine. When he moved to face her again, Zara made a decision. "I think we've reached that significant milestone we talked about." Understanding lit Flynn's eyes. "Are you sure? The project is important," Zara finished for him. "But so is this." Their first kiss was tentative, a question being asked and answered simultaneously. When they parted, both were smiling. "We should probably return to the party before people notice we're missing," Zara suggested. Though she made no move to leave, Flynn laughed softly. "They've been taking bets on us for months. Marcus has a whole pool going." "What?" Zara exclaimed, mortified yet amused. "Apparently we're not as subtle as we thought," Flynn admitted, taking her hand. "But if you're concerned about perception, I'm not," Zara interrupted firmly. "I've earned my reputation through my work, not by avoiding living my life, but we should be mindful of how we proceed." Flynn nodded, respecting her professional boundaries. "We'll take it slow." Taking it slow proved challenging as winter melted into spring, and their personal relationship blossomed alongside the progressing restoration. They maintained professionalism during working hours, but spent evenings and weekends exploring their connection. Flynn introduced Zara to his passion for sailing on the nearby lake. Zara showed him her favorite hidden architectural gems throughout the city. They discovered a shared love for old films, often watching classics that had once been screened at the Whitmore itself. But the restoration wasn't without its challenges. In March, a dispute arose with the Historical Preservation Board over the proposed modifications to make the theater ADA compliant without compromising its historical integrity. "They're being unreasonable," Flynn fumed after a particularly contentious meeting. "The building needs to serve everyone, not just be a museum piece." "I agree," Zara said, already sketching alternative approaches in her notebook. "But attacking them won't help. Let me handle the board. I've worked with them before." Flynn hesitated, his instinct to take charge warring with his trust in her expertise. "All right," he conceded finally. "It's your domain." For the next 2 weeks, Zara worked diplomatic magic, arranging private tours for board members, presenting detailed 3D models of her solutions, and calling in favors from preservation experts to support her proposals. When the board finally approved her compromise design, Flynn was awestruck by her tenacity. "That was masterful," he told her as they celebrated with champagne in his penthouse overlooking the city. "You never gave up." "Neither would you have," Zara pointed out, comfortable in his spacious living room after many evenings spent there. "We're alike that way." Flynn took her hand, his expression growing serious. "I've never met anyone who challenges and compliments me the way you do. Before you, my work was fulfilling, but something was missing." Zara's heart raced at the intensity in his eyes. "Flynn, I'm not proposing," he said quickly with a smile. "Not yet anyway, but I want you to know that what we have goes far beyond the Whitmore for me." "For me too," Zara admitted, kissing him softly. "But let's finish this project first. I want to see our vision completed." By late summer, the restoration had transformed the Whitmore from a decrepit shell into a glimpse of its former glory. The exterior stonework gleamed, the lobby's mosaic floor had been painstakingly restored, and the auditorium's ornate ceiling once again showcased its original splendor. But as the project entered its final months, a new complication arose. Zara was offered a prestigious position with an international preservation firm, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that would take her to projects around the world. "It's an incredible offer," Flynn said when she told him, his voice carefully neutral despite the concern in his eyes. "When would they need an answer?" 2 weeks, Zara replied, watching him closely. "The position starts after the Whitmore is completed." Flynn nodded, moving to look out his office window at the Riverbrook skyline. "You should take it. It's the kind of recognition your talent deserves." Zara felt a painful twist in her chest at his words. "Just like that. You think I should go?" He turned back to her, his expression conflicted. "I think you should decide based on your career goals, not on us. I won't be the reason you turn down an opportunity like this." "And what if I want you to be part of the equation?" Zara challenged, stepping closer. "What if I want us to factor into my decisions the same way my career does?" "Zara," Flynn began, then stopped, seeming to struggle with his words. "I've built my life around restoring buildings. I'm rooted here. Your talent deserves a global stage. So that's it. We're just incompatible." The hurt in her voice was unmistakable. Flynn closed the distance between them, taking her hands. "I'm trying to be selfless here, even though everything in me wants to ask you to stay." "Then ask," Zara whispered, her eyes searching his, but Flynn shook his head slightly. "I can't, not yet." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Take the 2 weeks. Think about what you really want." The following days were tense as they focused on the restoration, their personal relationships suddenly uncertain. Zara threw herself into finalizing details for the theater's grand reopening, scheduled for October, almost exactly a year and a half after they'd begun. A week before she needed to give her answer to the international firm, Zara was working late at the Whitmore, alone in what would soon be the restored manager's office. The sound of footsteps made her look up to find Flynn in the doorway. "I thought you had a dinner meeting," she said, surprised. "I canceled it," Flynn replied, stepping into the room. He looked uncharacteristically nervous. "I need to show you something. Will you come with me?" Curious despite the awkwardness between them, Zara followed him through the theater to the main auditorium. When Flynn pushed open the doors, she gasped. The space was illuminated by hundreds of small lights, giving the impression of stars spread across the ceiling and walls. On the stage stood a small table with dinner for 2. "What is this?" Zara asked as Flynn led her down the center aisle. "This is me not being selfless anymore," Flynn replied, his voice echoing slightly in the vast space. When they reached the stage, he turned to face her. "I've been thinking about what you said about wanting us to factor into your decisions." Zara's heart began to race as Flynn continued. "I realized I've been approaching this all wrong. I've been treating our relationship and your career as competing interests when they don't have to be." He took a deep breath. "So I made some calls." "Calls," Zara repeated, confused, to Lawrence at the international firm. "I know him from the preservation circuit," Flynn explained. We discussed the possibility of establishing their North American headquarters here in Riverbrook. Zara's eyes widened. Flynn, you can't just— I didn't pull strings, he assured her quickly. I merely pointed out the economic benefits and the rich architectural heritage of the region. The decision will still be based on business merits, but if it happens, you could accept the position without leaving. And if it doesn't happen? Zara asked softly. Flynn reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. Then I'm prepared to follow you anywhere. Zara's breath caught as Flynn opened the box to reveal a vintage Art Deco ring reminiscent of the Whitmore's architectural period. I've restored dozens of buildings, Zara, but meeting you has restored something in me I didn't know was missing. I don't want to be just a chapter in your life, I want us to build something lasting together. He dropped to one knee. Zara Nichols, will you marry me? Tears filled Zara's eyes as everything became clear. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes. Flynn slipped the ring onto her finger before standing to pull her into a kiss that held all the promise of their future together. When they finally parted, Zara looked around at the illuminated theater. How did you manage all this? I had help, Flynn admitted with a smile. The entire crew was in on it. They've been watching our story unfold alongside the Whitmore's restoration. As they sat down to dinner on the stage where countless performances had taken place, Zara made her decision. I'm going to negotiate with Lawrence. If they want me, they'll need to understand I come with conditions, namely, being based here with you. Flynn's smile was radiant. I have a feeling they'll agree. You're worth it. 1 month later, the Whitmore Theater reopened with a gala celebration that brought the entire community together. As guests marveled at the perfectly restored historic details alongside modern amenities, Flynn and Zara stood in the wings, watching their shared vision come to life. Ready for your speech, Mr. Ellison? Zara asked, straightening his bow tie. Almost, Flynn replied, capturing her left hand where her engagement ring sparkled. Just need my architect fiancé by my side. Together they walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. Flynn approached the microphone, his hand still holding Zara's. Welcome to the reborn Whitmore Theater, he began, looking out at the packed auditorium. When I purchased this building 18 months ago, I thought I was simply restoring a piece of our town's history. I never expected that in the process, I would find the architect of not just this restoration, but of my future as well. Zara squeezed his hand as camera flashes captured the moment. The Whitmore stands today as a testament to what we can achieve when we honor our past while building toward our future, Flynn continued. And thanks to Zara Nichols, who will soon become Zara Ellison, I've learned that lesson applies to life as much as to architecture. As the crowd applauded again, Zara stepped to the microphone. The true beauty of restoration isn't just in preserving what was, but in creating space for what can be, she said, looking at Flynn with love. This theater will once again be filled with stories. And I'm grateful that ours will be among them. That night, after the guests had departed and only security lights illuminated the grand space, Flynn and Zara danced alone on the stage where their journey had begun. The Whitmore Theater stood as a monument not just to architectural preservation, but to the unexpected love story that had unfolded within its walls, a story of a millionaire who renovated a historic building, never expecting the architect would become his forever.